The station's lights flickered as if on cue, a subtle warning that something had slipped past the outer sensors. Commander Leora Vance didn't flinch. Her boots echoed against the metal grating as she made her way down the central corridor, datapad in hand, scanning every airlock, every hatch, every containment panel. The war beasts were restless. Massive, four-limbed predators bred for close-quarters boarding defense. Their muscles twitched under reinforced restraints, claws scraping lightly against the floors. One hissed through its respirator, a sound that would have made any normal crew freeze. Leora paused, checked the locking sequence. Fully engaged, fully secure. Good. For now. Even so, the station AI flagged subtle anomalies. Minute vibrations in Sector 9, irregular energy readings near the cargo bay, and a pulse signature that didn't match any registered personnel. Leora didn't panic. She never did. She simply walked, calmly confirming the locks, the protocols, the redundant security measures built for a dozen worst-case scenarios. Through the viewport of Hatch 12B, she could see the cargo bay slowly depressurizing, preparing for an incoming shuttle. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous, or at least that's what the logs claimed. But Leora had learned the galaxy didn't follow its own rules. The moment she stepped onto the bay floor, her boots clicked softly against the grated panels, sending vibrations that the war beasts picked up instantly. They stopped moving, heads tilting, eyes tracking her. One curled its tail around the reinforced rail instinctively. Another pressed a claw against the containment grid. Not aggression, alertness, recognition. Leora didn't acknowledge them. She wasn't here to threaten. She was here to make sure nothing escaped. And she already knew the galaxy could punish her for a single misstep. She reached the last hatch. A warning light blinked. Her fingers hovered over the release sequence. Outside, the stars stretched like pale ribbons of light through the reinforced glass. Inside, shadows of colossal creatures waited silently. A slight smile touched her lips. Almost ready, she murmured. If you enjoy intense HFY sci-fi, where humans control the chaos calmly and efficiently, consider subscribing for more. Leave a like if this grabbed you, and comment what you think might slip past the station next. The first warning came not from alarms, but from a subtle vibration in the floor panels beneath Leora's boots. Something massive was moving outside the reinforced hull, something the outer sensors had failed to classify. She didn't run. She never did. Instead, she tapped the nearest console, initiating the secondary lockdown sequence while scanning the cargo bay. The war beasts shifted in their restraints, muscles bunching, tails lashing, claws scraping, but they didn't try to attack. They were alert, ready, testing. A single cargo bay hatch shuttered. Microfractures ran across its reinforced alloy like tiny lightning bolts. Leora leaned closer to the console, eyes scanning the live feed. The breach wasn't a shuttle crash. It was a creature, larger than anything she had seen in training simulations. Limbs folded in unnatural angles, scales reflecting the emergency lights in a way that made it seem almost liquid. Lockdown sequence complete, she said softly, almost to herself. The AI confirmed every seal had engaged. Yet the vibrations persisted. The creature was pressing against the station's defenses, testing strength and waiting for a weakness. The war beast reacted first. Their instincts flared. One pressed against the reinforced grid with all four limbs, claws rattling the metal, growling a low, harmonic tone. Leora didn't flinch. She knew this was what the station had been built for. Creatures bred to overwhelm, checked by humans who never panicked. A technician's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, pressure readings on Hatch 12B are dropping faster than predicted. Leora nodded. Keep it stable. All systems in secondary mode. Do not override the locks. Her hands moved over the console, confirming every micro-adjustment, every energy reroute. Even the smallest misstep could allow the creature to breach. Then, with a sound like a tearing star, a clawed limb struck the outer hull. Sparks flew. The entire station vibrated. The war beasts froze mid-hiss. Outside, the creature recoiled, not out of fear but curiosity. It sensed a human in command, someone who did not panic, someone whose calm radiated authority. The tension was palpable. Every crew member held their breath, and Leora, hands steady on the console, didn't move a muscle. She simply waited, ready to act, knowing the next second could decide whether the station survived or became debris in the void. The AI flagged a single note across the system. Human response, stabilizing predator activity. Observe. It was a record, a moment of instinctual recalibration, and Leora knew the galaxy had just witnessed something it hadn't anticipated. The creature tested the station's outer hull again, massive claws scraping against the reinforced plating. Every strike sent shudders through the floor, rattling consoles and loose equipment. Yet Leora remained steady, her eyes never leaving the creature's form on the monitor. The war beast shifted uneasily, instinctively leaning away from her calm presence, their aggression throttled by an unseen authority. Every predator aboard sensed it. The human wasn't commanding through fear or weapons. She was commanding through observation, precision, and absolute certainty. Pressures stabilizing, a technician muttered, voice trembling despite the words. Leora gave a small nod, but didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence alone had set the tone. The creature, sensing hesitation and analyzing patterns, began probing the station more delicately. Its limbs moved slower, testing each seal rather than smashing blindly. Sensors recorded data at unprecedented speed. The AI flagged a note. Behavioral modulation detected. Predator type reacting to human stabilization. Leora moved from the console to the viewport, overlooking the cargo bay. Her hands rested lightly on the railing. She observed as the creature adjusted to her presence. Not fear, not aggression, a cautious respect, calculated, precise, and instinctively reactive to her stillness. The war beasts, normally uncontrollable under stress, mirrored the same response. Muscles relaxed, claws lowered, tails coiled. A single growl, soft and measured, echoed from the chamber. The creature didn't respond to the sound. It waited, watching. Leora's voice, calm but clear, finally broke the silence. You're not leaving today. You understand that, right? The creature paused mid-limb strike, tilting its head, as if considering her words, not with thought, but with instinct. Every motion slowed further. She didn't move forward, didn't signal. She simply existed as a constant, an anchor. Across the station, sensors logged this unprecedented event. Primary predator stabilized by single human presence. System's integrity maintained. No additional force required. For the first time, crew members realized that victory wouldn't come from brute strength or firepower. It came from a human at the center, quiet, patient, and unshakable. Leora's calm was the weapon, her observation the shield, her presence the anchor that would hold the station together. The creature, massive and seemingly unstoppable, finally recoiled. Not out of fear, but acknowledgement. For now, the station had survived, and the humans had demonstrated the principle no one had trained them for. Sometimes, the stillest hand holds the greatest power. The cargo bay was quiet now, deceptively calm, but Leora knew the lull was only temporary. The creature had learned patience, and patience meant calculation. Every limb, every twitch, every glance from its multifaceted eyes told her that it was preparing its next move. She moved along the railing, scanning every reinforced hatch, every containment unit. The war beasts in their restraints remained calm, almost obedient, a living testament to her control over instinct. Yet the creature outside had not yet fully tested the station's defenses. One misstep and the entire facility could become a death trap. Commander, a technician called over the comm, the outer hull's structural integrity is dropping faster than predicted. If it strikes again, Leora raised a hand, cutting him off. Then we make it hesitate long enough for containment. That's all we need. Her voice was steady, quiet, the tone of someone giving instructions to a storm. Sensors tracked the creature as it shifted position, its massive frame pressing against the hull. Leora tapped the console to engage secondary force fields along the affected panels. Sparks danced across the hull, visible even through reinforced glass. The creature's limbs recoiled slightly, reacting not to the force field itself, but to the human orchestrating it. The war beasts, sensing her precise adjustments, mirrored her calm. Each claw slowly retreated from the restraints, each tail uncoiled. They didn't need to act. The human's presence was enough to align them. A pause. The creature froze mid-motion, head tilted, claws suspended over the hull. Then, slowly, deliberately, it tested a different panel, one that hadn't been reinforced. Leora's hand hovered over the release lever, not to strike, not to close the panel completely, but to guide the outcome without panic. Every micro-adjustment was deliberate, every second a calculated statement. This human controls the outcome. The technician gasped. I've never seen anything like this. It's waiting. Leora didn't respond. She didn't need to. The creature was already obeying her invisible rules. Outside, the massive being lowered a claw and impossibly retreated slightly. Not fully, not submissively, but in recognition. It understood that brute force would not prevail here. Presence would. Across the station, subtle changes were recorded. Predators lowered their posture. Prey species adjusted their positions. AI protocols reallocated resources to focus on the human. One message pinged on her console. Hierarchy observed. Human presence central. Systems aligning. Leora exhaled softly, eyes never leaving the creature. It was a small victory, but the principle was clear. Sometimes, to win, you don't strike. You hold your ground. And in holding her ground, she had shifted the balance of power without firing a single shot. The creature's next strike came faster than anyone anticipated. One massive limb tore through a secondary force field, sparks showering the deck like liquid fire. The hull shuddered. Panels warped under pressure. The war beasts and restraints hissed, claws flexing instinctively. Every instinct on the station screamed that catastrophe was imminent. But Leora didn't flinch. She stepped forward into the center of the concourse, datapad in hand, watching the creature through reinforced viewport glass. Her calm was deliberate, magnetic, anchoring the chaos around her. Secondary locks are holding. She murmured softly, almost to herself. But it's testing limits. Let's see how far it wants to go. The creature's eyes tracked her movements, scanning her posture, every subtle micro-shift in balance. It lunged again, faster this time, slamming against reinforced panels and sending vibrations through the entire bay. Yet when it recoiled, it hesitated, uncertain. Leora tapped the console and rerouted emergency power to the containment grids, not aggressively, but with precise timing. Sparks arced across the room, lighting her face with pale, cinematic glow. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't issue orders. She simply existed at the center of the storm. The war beasts mirrored the calm. Muscles relaxed, claws retracted slightly, tails coiled again. Even the crew stopped panicking, watching Leora's quiet mastery. And then, with a motion that seemed almost calculated, the creature paused mid-lunge. Its claws hovered over the reinforced panels as though waiting for permission. Its massive form tense but restrained. For a moment, it wasn't a predator testing a station. It was a being measuring a human. The AI pinged urgently, behavioral response outside expectation. Human presence dominant. Predator activity stabilized. Leora took a slow step forward, eyes meeting the creature's gaze. The tension was thick enough to taste, and yet she smiled faintly, almost indulgently. "You don't need to break anything," she said quietly. "I've already won." The creature froze entirely. Slowly, it withdrew from the vulnerable panel, retreating without chaos or destruction. Every predator and prey aboard the station instinctively recognized what had happened. The human did not fight, but nothing could challenge her authority. Across the sensors, readings updated in real time. Patterns emerged. The station itself seemed to bend to her presence. Patrol routes shifted, containment protocols realigned, and every system recalibrated around the human at the center. It wasn't victory by force. It was victory by presence, by calculation, by calm mastery. And in that moment, everyone aboard the station realized something impossible. Humans didn't need to dominate to command. The concourse was silent, but not empty. Crew members emerged from hatches. War beasts and restraints relaxed visibly, and even the AI's voice felt calmer, as though the station itself exhaled. Every system logged the same conclusion. The human had stabilized a situation no one expected to survive intact. Leora walked slowly along the catwalk, hands behind her back, eyes scanning the bay. She checked the secondary locks once more, confirming that every hatch, panel, and force field was operational. The war beasts remained contained, the cargo secure, and the creature outside, massive and tense just moments ago, had retreated to a neutral distance. "Commander," a junior technician said hesitantly, voice trembling with awe. How did you do that?" Leora paused, glancing down at him. Her calm smile was deliberate, reassuring. "I didn't do anything the systems or the station can't handle," she said softly. "I just made sure we didn't panic." That's often the difference between survival and chaos. Across the station, sensors and logs captured the event in exquisite detail. The predators had obeyed, the creature had withdrawn, and the prey species had adjusted instinctively. One subtle pattern became clear. The human's presence alone had altered the hierarchy of behavior. Commander Vance returned to the main observation deck, lifting her gaze to the viewport. The stars stretched beyond, vast and infinite, yet the galaxy seemed to shift subtly in recognition of what had just occurred inside this station. Somewhere, far beyond Helix 62's orbit, observers were beginning to ask questions. Questions that could not be answered by weapons or size alone. For now, the humans were quiet, calm, controlled, yet the station itself had already acknowledged their impact. If you've been enjoying this kind of HFY story where humans quietly reshape the rules of power, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, and commenting on what you think Leora might face next. Your support helps keep these stories coming. 12 minutes later, a signal blinked into the station's comm network, deliberate, structured, and unmistakably official. Station Helix 62, the voice intoned, smooth and calm, yet carrying authority across the void. "We request immediate clarification regarding the human who stabilized the cargo bay incident." Commander Vance didn't flinch. She stood at the observation deck, eyes on the stars, as the galactic query replayed across her console. Sensors and logs had already transmitted every detail. The creature's halted advance, the war beast's restraint, and the subtle, precise actions of a single human who had commanded compliance without aggression. The aliens behind the transmission had one question on repeat. Was this human an anomaly or the rule? Leora turned to the AI, which had flagged the incoming query with high priority. "All data available," she said softly. The AI began preparing detailed logs, but even it hesitated. No prior protocol accounted for a human influencing apex predators without weapons, without conflict, without direct orders. Across Helix 62, patterns were already emerging. Predators adjusted patrol routes further, prey species clustered differently, and the war beasts, normally uncontrollable under stress, remained contained and calm. The station itself had restructured its operational priorities to orbit around the human presence. Leora's calm gaze didn't waver. She had no intention of explaining more than necessary. The galaxy could speculate all it wanted. Humans, she knew, thrived in the tension between expectation and reality. "Commander Vance," the voice repeated, more insistent, "is this human representative of your species?" She exhaled slowly, almost as if amused. "No," she said, She's just the first you've seen acting like the rest of us do. And I suspect there are more. The galaxy paused in its way. Far beyond Helix 62, sensors, logs, and observers recalculated the position of humanity in the cosmic hierarchy. They had assumed humans were small, unpredictable, and weak. They were about to realize their assumption was incomplete. The quiet tension across the station now had a new layer. The human had proven the unexpected, and the galaxy had taken notice. The docking clamps engaged with a subtle metallic hiss. Leora didn't glance up at the monitor. She already felt the shift in the station's rhythm. Another human was aboard. One step across the threshold, and the gravity of her presence amplified. The new arrival was Jonah Reyes, a systems engineer, eyes wide but steady as he stepped onto the concourse. Leora didn't greet him verbally. She simply gestured toward the control panels, a precise movement that told him exactly where to start. His fingers moved immediately, rerouting power lines to compensate for residual hull stress from the creature's strikes. Even the war beasts reacted. Claws unclenched, tails stopped lashing, postures easing as though the station itself recognized Jonah's presence as reinforcement. Predators that had lingered near the upper observation decks froze, watching the new human with subtle deference. The creature outside twitched its massive limbs, sensing the shift. Its approach slowed. Leora's steady hands adjusted the last hatch locks. "Check the secondary grids," she said quietly. Jonah's nod was barely perceptible. No panique. No hesitation. Every action precise, deliberate. The station AI logged a new pattern. Multiple human presence. Behavioral stability increased. Predator response modulated. The subtle tension across Helix 62 thickened, with two humans now coordinating without words. Every alien aboard instinctively recalculated threats and safety zones. Even the prey species moved closer to the control hub, aligning themselves with the human's orbit. Leora finally spoke, calm and almost conversational. 3 more are scheduled to arrive within the next cycle. Prepare the station accordingly. Jonah blinked. "You mean this is going to—" "Yes," she said. "It will shift everything." Outside the viewport, the creature paused mid-limb strike. Inside, the station exhaled collectively. The humans didn't need weapons. They didn't need threats. Their quiet coordination was rewriting the hierarchy in real time. For the first time, Commander Vance allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The station had survived the breach, but survival was no longer the point. Control had shifted, and everyone aboard understood it instinctively. A ping arrived on the comm network, precise and unervingly calm. It came from the Galactic Council. Thousands of light years away, yet observant enough to notice the fluctuations in Helix 62's system logs, the predator and prey behaviors, even the subtle micro-adjustments of power redistribution. "Station Helix 62, the voice stated, smooth but urgent. Your human subjects are classified under controlled Apex entities. Confirm compliance with standard engagement protocols." Leora didn't flinch. She scanned the console and noticed the AI had already begun recalculating station defenses for 4 humans now, 3 of whom hadn't even arrived yet. Every predator's route, every sensor sweep, every emergency protocol was adapting without orders. The human's presence alone was forcing the station's ecosystem to stabilize. Jonah leaned over her shoulder. "They think we're apex predators?" he asked, incredulous. "Not even close," Leora murmured. Her fingers danced over the console, adjusting minor energy flows and locking sequences that no one outside the station could even notice. "They're misreading the signs. They see compliance and instinctual deference and assume dominance." Outside the viewport, the creature from earlier shifted slightly, testing the outer hull again, but even its aggression was muted now. The war beasts mirrored the same restraint, muscles relaxing further as Jonah rerouted secondary stabilizers. Predators observing from higher decks subtly lowered their postures, aligning themselves with the human's silent rhythm. Leora let the council think what they wanted. To them, humans were apex predators. But humans didn't behave like predators. They altered environments, coordinated outcomes, and shaped behavior by presence and precision rather than force. The AI flagged a note. Attempted hierarchy calculation incorrect. Human non-aggression unable to be classified. The Council's attempts to constrain humans with rules, protocols, or preconceptions were already failing. Every movement, every adjustment, every calm gesture by Leora and Jonah amplified the effect. The humans weren't fighting hierarchy. They were becoming a new constant that the galaxy hadn't accounted for. Leora finally leaned back, eyes on the stars. "Let them misread," she said softly. "They'll learn eventually. Or too late." Across Helix 62, the station continued to realign itself around the humans. A quiet proof that misreading humans was the first mistake the galaxy ever made, and it wouldn't be the last. By the time the third human transfer docked, the effect was undeniable. Each arrival didn't just add presence, they multiplied it. The station's corridors and concourses subtly bent around them, patrol routes realigned, emergency protocols recalibrated, and every predator aboard instinctively adapted without a single command. Leora observed from the observation deck, Jonah beside her. Their calm coordination had become the new gravitational center of Helix 62. The war beasts, once uncontrollable, now mirrored precise containment patterns, responding to human gestures alone. Sensors logged it all. Human presence. Previous hierarchy, stability. A fourth human, a logistics officer named Miri Tanaka, entered the main concourse. The subtle pressure change in the air announced her arrival before the docking announcement. The station AI immediately adjusted. Secondary shields shifted slightly. Lighting softened along her path to reduce stress on creatures outside, and predators instinctively backed off, posture lowered. "This is it," Jonah muttered, checking the power reroutes. "Every system, every creature, everything is orbiting you and me now. It's complete." Leora nodded, her eyes scanning the concourse. "It's never about fighting. It's about presence and coordination. Once multiple humans exist together in a system, everything else adapts." Outside, the creature from the cargo bay watched, hesitant. Its claws no longer tested the hull. Even it instinctively recognized the humans as a constant, an authority it could not challenge. Reports pinged in from distant observation stations. Across the galaxy, the Council was reassessing their classification. Humans were no longer just apex entities. They were environmental constants, a force that altered behavior, hierarchy, and protocol simply by existing in conjunction. The station AI noted multiple human presence detected, systems, creatures, and crew aligning without direct instruction. Prediction: stable control maintained. Leora exhaled. A small, deliberate smile touched her lips. "We didn't break anything," she said softly. "We just became the reason nothing breaks." And with that, Helix 62 became the first station in the galaxy to operate under a rule no one had anticipated. Humans don't dominate. They anchor. And when they anchor together, even the impossible bends around them. Word of Helix 62 traveled faster than any formal transmission. Across the galactic network, observers flagged anomalies in predator behavior, station AI protocols, and system stability metrics, all traced back to humans aboard a single station. The Council convened an emergency session, but no words could accurately describe what they were seeing. Reports conflicted. Some claimed the humans were apex predators. Others noted the lack of aggression, the calm mastery, the way entire predator species deferred instinctively without provocation. Every metric contradicted the other. Their sensors, designed for classification and hierarchy, failed. Humans didn't fit. Leora watched the stars again, quiet, as the Council's inquiries pinged across the comm network. Distant fleets shifted course to observe, but the humans didn't act. They maintained their calm, adjusting systems, checking locks, monitoring war beasts, and ensuring containment, all without a single alarm gesture. Jonah checked the secondary grids, noting subtle strain patterns that had been corrected in real time by the humans' coordinated presence. "They're panicking," he said softly. "Every fleet, every council member, they don't know what to do." "That's because they've assumed the wrong rules," Leora replied, her voice calm. "They think this is about aggression. But it's not. It's about influence, stability, presence, coordination." Predators on the station, normally unpredictable, aligned instinctively. Prey species clustered closer. Even the war beasts responded with precision to minor adjustments. Every movement reinforced the same lesson. Humans were constants, not challengers. Across the galaxy, every system trying to quantify humans failed. Observation drones recalculated probabilities endlessly. Every fail metric was logged, but none of it mattered. Helix 62 had become a precedent. The first system to function completely around human presence, without a single act of aggression. The Council sent urgent new instructions: reinforce the station, classify the humans, determine behavioral limits. But Helix 62's logs, stabilized, precise, and controlled, already rendered those orders meaningless. Leora leaned back, hands folded. "Let them scramble," she said quietly. "They're already too late." The galaxy was finally noticing humans. And Helix 62 had already proven that noticing them was only the beginning. Helix 62 had changed forever, not because it fought and won, but because it existed under humans, precisely, calmly, deliberately. Every system, every creature, every predator and prey aboard now orbited their presence, as if guided by an unseen gravity. Leora, Jonah, Miri, and the fourth human moved through the concourse like the calm center of a storm. Sensors flagged their coordination in real time. Human multiple presence, station stable, systems adjusting without command, predator behavior subordinated. Outside, the once threatening cargo bay creature lingered at a safe distance. It observed rather than attacked, acknowledging a hierarchy it could not challenge. The war beasts mirrored the same restraint, every muscle poised but idle. Reports from the Galactic Council flooded the station. Inquiries, warnings, emergency classifications, and calculations of human behavioral limits. Helix 62 ignored none of it, but answered without participation. The humans didn't fight, didn't posture, didn't assert dominance. They simply were, and everything else aligned accordingly. Commander Vance, observing from the deck, finally spoke, awe-stricken. "I don't think the galaxy understands what we just saw." Leora smiled faintly, eyes on the stars. "It doesn't need to. They'll figure it out eventually, or too late. We didn't break the station. We didn't fight the predator. We just became the reason it didn't break." The station AI registered it as a new protocol: human presence, environmental constant, new hierarchy forming, galactic observation in progress. Helix 62 had become a precedent no one could erase. A station where humans didn't dominate. They anchored, and their calm presence dictated outcomes, reshaping behavior, power, and expectation across species. For the first time, every observer, predator, and prey knew a simple, undeniable truth. Humans weren't just another species in the galaxy. They were the variable that no one could predict, control, or ignore. Leora glanced at her team, relaxed but alert. "Well," she said softly, "I guess we'll see who else decides to orbit us." And somewhere beyond the stars, the galaxy began to reckon with a new reality. Humanity had arrived, not with force, but with the quiet certainty that nothing would ever be the same.